understand you are live on YouTube at the moment.
Live, it's
Yeah.
Saturday night.
But it is now not satisfactory. And so they had spent a lot of money on putting together what they thought was a proper legal, appropriate thing, and they're now finding that maybe they have to,
Again.
buy a whole new system. And the amount of money that you can spend on one of those is really substantial. I think we had to redo ours, and it cost about $30,000.
No, let's see.
And
Legal.
this is after
So she's.
having had one before that failed, but which it failed, so it gets replaced.
But it is all, I know.
So I guess I'm just, the concern is that
Preach. So she would be.
I don't want these people to feel like they're being singled out. If they're
How's it going?
made the effort,
Yeah.
and there are
Hey,
people,
Paul, you hear me?
when they were starting this, that had,
Yes, sir.
the guy I worked with in Springfield described,
Okay,
there's
you're
2 pipes
toward me in.
Yeah,
leaving the,
No, I have something to give him.
one goes about 3
Have
feet
what?
into the lake and the other goes about 20 feet into the lake. One is to get water, one is
Oh,
the,
Lord, it seems just not coming.
She's online right now. On the
did
Zoom.
you,
that.
It's unrelated to anything.
do your glasses?
But there's a lot of people who
Yeah.
spend a lot of money on that, trying to do the right thing, and I
Yeah.
don't want them
Look
to
like,
think that we're just
Look like-
taking them in the gut, that's all.
Okay, it's 4 o'clock.
Understood.
Let's begin. We have a quorum. Let's see, who do we have online, Jacob?
Well, it's, oh, no, the other person just me. So yeah, Paul, I'll let anybody else talk about.
Okay. And here in the room, we have, Christos and Victoria, Joe, and Bill, and I, and team
Yeah,
members,
that's Bill.
Doug,
Thank you.
obviously Jacob.
Thanks for keeping track of it, better than I did.
So let's do the minutes first. Anyone want to move the minutes for approval so we can discuss? Or if we need to? Anybody?
So moved, yeah.
Thank you, Joe.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
Oh,
Pardon?
I was just curious on what you need to vote on
Quorum, 3 of us.
for you.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, great, minutes are done. We have a member update, although Bonnie is not on the phone.
She may have joined, we now have Bonnie.
Oh,
Hi,
good,
Bonnie.
yay, Bonnie's on the phone. I wanted to let the committee know that Bonnie has, well, Bonnie, why don't you tell us about the future as it relates to you?
I think your sound might be off, Bonnie.
Hello.
All right.
There you go.
I'm a bit moved, like the Bob Del Rebel, my successor of the committee. Thank goodness I had planned.
Oh, sorry, I'm
It's a seamless transition. And so I had planned on bringing any attention to it. I just thought you're gonna have someone sitting on chair next month. Who's better and more up to speed.
No.
Anchor in the community. So I think I will leave it at that, but Kent and I are thinking of Florida, our permanent residents. And we found that quite often and this is a light care residence near Sanibel Island that has all levels of care, and we thought that maybe we were readier for that than we got ready to. But I think we're going to have a very happy ending because my brother and sister-in-law and both in Arlington, Virginia, are going to purchase our second residence. So we're gonna be able to come back and see you guys. I might even come visit.
please do.
Indeed.
Both of all given me a fabulous education of issues. And I'm even more convinced of the importance of protecting our watershed. So I would be channeling all my energy to you guys at every. But I just won't be a representative from Middlefield after this. So thank you all.
Well, thank you for everything you've done, Bonnie. It's very much appreciated, especially this regulatory work that you ramrodded.
And Bonnie, I was gonna say that you, in a very short amount of time, you got up to speed fast. You were an excellent committee member and a big help to me. And the regulatory component really was a huge piece of the 90 plan. So we really appreciate it. At this point, Jeff Weppel will be the rep from Middlefield, and then the mayor will appoint another rep from Cooperstown. When I think you just spoke with her the other day. Yeah, okay. Well, I for one, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I for one will miss you terribly, but you better call us when you get to Cooperstown. That's all I can say.
Just don't walk down the street.
Perfect. I couldn't welcome it more. That would be wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Bonnie. I know I didn't tell you I was going to do that. Thank you as always. You're very gracious. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm going to skip the scientific advisory report until Kyoko is here, but I thought we'd replace it, maybe if you don't mind, Jacob, with the most recent information from the consultants.
In Turco, we have the first copy. I have not reviewed it yet, but we have the first draft of the municipal assessment section of the report. So we'll be sending that out soon. Probably the largest update that I have in terms of that.
That's what I was, yeah.
That's great.
And the revisions are underway, so those are all back to Anchor, and I'll be meeting with Wendy tomorrow. Go over that. A lot of good feedback, a lot of people,
So this is.
a lot of good in the right direction.
So this is exciting. The municipal assessment review has been done by the consultant. Jake will get something to you and outline what he's expecting, and we'll start including others in the process to get that section sort of nailed down.
So just to be clear, that's in part the work product of Bonnie, regulatory
Yes.
committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Each town and the village had to do the assessment. They reviewed it. And now we have some opportunities to, there are recommendations in the document. I just briefly reviewed it for each town, for each municipality, I should say. And so it'll be an interesting process.
It's not having seen it yet, but to your point, are these recommendations things that need to be implemented prior to submission of the 90 plan or as part of the ongoing lake effort? What are
They
they?
say no, but I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I believe it's more about inclusion within the 9-element plan. Now, I just wanted to follow up what Enid said. Now, I have not read, I read the how to read the document, but I have not actually read the document itself. But just from a few comments from her team, my guess is that it might miss out on some of the things that we wanted to hit on simply because they were not part of the assessment forums. So, somebody else had mentioned the lack of forms of stuff about, whether it be ice bubblers or salt usage. It's actually was fairly limited in a few things we've been discussing. So I'll just say that now, throw that out now, that when you do receive the copy, maybe keep an eye on that for things that we want to make sure that are added. But again, I'll review the municipal assessment forms. They're quite a bit of questions, but I think they really do kind of miss the things that we're sort of talking about. There's obviously nothing in them about lake boats, and talk about that possibly. I don't believe there was any question in regards to bubblers. I honestly don't think it had a lot to do with salt. I think that probably has more to do with the fact that he probably has separate routes that they get most of that information, but I don't really know. I don't.
Yeah, and I think we can easily, just like we did with the first 3 chapters, we can easily recommend, suggest that those things be mentioned as important to be part of it before they go to everyone, so that we can, put in there that these things should be considered, for instance, potentially, I don't know. But I'm thinking it's our opportunity to look at the municipal laws. And we should take it as an opportunity to include everything we can in there that we want folks to look at, whether it's in the original or not. And we think the following should be included. So I'm hoping that we can, you know, as we go along, we'll put our approach to it, improve it. And hopefully it'll work out well. So you'll all see it. Jake will get it to you and it will all be clear as a bell.
Another place for cooperation, I think, is with the dimension with the Department of Transportation, several of them. That's, salt is in that, ditching is in that, there's a bunch of them. It's not gonna be an easy thing to work with, but I think all those are worth mentioning.
Yes, so.
Nothing to report on the BMP. I don't know why meeting is there, but the BMP process is what I'll put here. I'll just keep it as an action item. It's not yet actionable. And then Paul, do we have a date for pigging the line? Paul, can you hear?
Oh, we can't hear you, Paul. There we go.
What's that again? Do I have, I'm sorry, I missed
I
it.
don't know if the ice, the ice would be out, but I think they'd probably have. Ice would be fully out, maybe.
Oh, a sarcastic remark. Oh, nice. I'm a big fan of those, Paul, just so you know. I think, no, I'm thinking that if we can. No, I understand, I'm kind of, I'm not, stupid. It might be helpful, maybe since we've missed it in the last few years to even just make sure that we've got something going on, maybe the end of April or something. And if that's too aggressive, that's fine, but as soon as we can get a date, because that's been the issue in the last 3 years, that would be great. So we'll keep that on the agenda.
Can I ask a question about that? When it does happen, and since there's been such a long interval since it's been done, are there any kind of sampling or other things you want to be prepared to do scientifically for that first pigging event in a while that you wouldn't have otherwise done in terms of whatever pours out of that?
I think just noting the volume of stuff that comes out would be noteworthy, not necessarily measuring it, but noting it. Because we've shifted so heavily from zebra mussels to quagga mussels, I wonder if that has made a difference with around the line. Zebra mussels tend to like to burn surfaces like pipes much more than quaggas do. And I'm kind of curious as to whether or not that would be reflected in decrease in shells that come out.
I talked to Tom, I don't think his belief is that they're likely to see a lot of material come out. It's been 3 years since they take it out just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know what they do for testing, I think, maybe some sort of follow-up testing.
Well, I know that Tom will do that on his end for water intake, but in terms of your lake health work.
Yeah, I think really just, photo documenting what comes out would be interesting.
Okay.
Oh, photo documenting. Okay, so noted. Good idea. Is that possible, Paul, to do that? Right, okay.
The issue really is with the water.
The issue is what?
What
I
we've
didn't.
done in the past, that well, that was fine. But down there, the rough running, the center of the valley. Kind of. Well, most of the fossil all change, right?
Yep.
And then we opened that change. And capture what we thousand, so not. So, but
Right.
Okay, well,
there's a couple things going on. We're playing streaming, get the water back on. But,
right, of course. All right, well, we appreciate that you do this stuff. We really do. It makes a huge difference. None of us, I certainly couldn't do it, so I appreciate it. Okay, any McNeely response, anything up on that, Jake? Anything new?
No, sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I don't have anything further past the. I'm not sure I had that set up properly. Yes, I don't have any further response past what the release was already
Okay.
sent, so.
And any response from the village on the styrofoam letter?
No, not that I've heard. The only thing I can pass along is that every conversation I've had with the mayor about it, I think she is taking it seriously, and certainly if there's any identified issues, the village seems very willing.
Okay, well, if they can just get back to us in terms of what action they might take, I'll just, I'll ask.
Yeah, and
George.
I think that's a good idea before. I don't know what the rest of the scientists think. Strike that. I don't know what the scientists think because I'm not one of them. But what would you like to see a work plan or approach or something that the village might have in mind? I'd hate for us to go and do something that doesn't really fit the bill that you would have in mind. So
I think that's a great idea. I mean, this is how we should work together. The experts are at the table, or on the Zoom. It'd be great if the mayor could let us know what the intention is, and we can maybe be helpful in terms of the people around the table understanding the issue and getting back. So that's really what we're looking for. To work together as a team. So yeah, that'd be great, Joe, would you? Okay. Styrofoam letter, homeowners went out with the Otsego 2000 newsletter, and we haven't had any response that I know from that. We did though get the information about the feedback, so there's now 100. It's 180 last time. 108, right? And they expect a 35% open rate. It was, I think, an 80% open rate and 276 resends of it. So this is a really, really good.
so you can track that sort of stuff.
Well, Ellen is.
Yeah.
Ellen is tracking it and she lets us know. So and I've had a few people call me and ask questions or say, this is great. And now we've been wondering, we've been wanting to know what's going on. So I think this is going to be really helpful. For the next one, Christos, I had an idea.
All the ears.
Yeah, okay. You know that list of stuff that you do
Yes.
for people? It's so fabulous. They came to my house and they're gonna come back in the spring. Would you be okay with us letting people know these are the things that Soil and Water provide our community?
Of course.
So I think that might be,
The more people know, the better off we are. So Divvy, what is it? Send out the good news.
Okay.
Incidentally, on that same conversation, I heard that some of my texts were at your, well, what is it?
House.
Yes, we're at your place.
yes, they were. They came and they're gonna do trees for trips.
Indeed.
And I knew what they meant by that.
Yeah.
Very
There you
exciting.
go.
Because I'm worried about soil erosion. So they were great. They did a great job, came in the, slugging through the snow and they were fabulous.
Good. Glad
Um,
to hear it.
And they have a date to come back. Johnny on the spot, really great. Ray is fabulous, as you already know. So anyway, that's the feedback from the Otsego 2000 email communication. I think that's really, really positive. Good job on that.
Yes, definitely. And I can't hit on enough that this is a great collaboration we have with Otsego 2000. We're very appreciative of that. I don't know how soon or how we would have gotten this done exactly, but this
I know.
seems like a great way forward.
Yeah, and she had mentioned on the phone with us that her board is very verbal about doing more with the lake. Otsego 2000 doing more with the lake. So this fills a
Great.
request from her board as well. So it works for all of us. I
Win-win.
think. win-win. And the fact that it's 85% open is really, I didn't know that would be a good news item, but it is. So that's great.
I have a question before we totally leave the styrofoam.
Please, yeah.
Do we have any intention to do inspections of docks or floats around the lake regarding styrofoam?
I don't know who that would be. No,
Well,
not that I know of.
We inspect septic systems.
well, you know, just to blue sky that idea, there are several. There are several major I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Bill? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My point was going to be that those inspections, from the surface are going to be revealing only a fraction of the problem. Problem with muskrats is they come up from underneath.
Right, so the blue sky idea was that we identify some of the major dock systems in the lake, and there are, there are the ones at the hotels, there's our own at Lakefront, there are the Lakeland Shores and on around the lake. Not getting every individual one, but those larger ones, if we could set up an inspection protocol, get some funding perhaps for that, and working through your operation, schedule something for that your team would be interested and available to and remunerated.
It's the easiest way to inspect them is to inspect them in the next couple of weeks before they go back in the water. That's the easiest way.
Right on.
So Paul, is this something we don't know? So we're just asking. I don't know. Maybe others do, but is this an unrealistic expectation of us to try and get some of the bigger styrofoam floats looked at before it goes back? I mean, we don't have any effort.
The easiest way to do that, do it before they're put back in the water.
But who would do it? I guess my question is, who would do it?
Who would do it?
Yeah.
Great way.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I don't see anybody jumping up and down and saying, "Oh, good job, I would do this."
Right.
Well, Victoria, using your Colbert experience model, is there a team that from that cohort who could be recruited to?
Not that I know of. The culvert, all of the culvert work we did was just me and Jeff. So that's pretty much.
No, this is easy. You're right here.
Would you ask Jeff, just for the heck of it, if he would be interested?
Yeah, we can ask.
Just let it ask.
And it would be mostly to identify what would an inspection protocol look like? What are the things that, so you have a uniform look at, and these would be on, as Bill, Paul said, before they go in the water.
It depends on the type of dock that you're talking about. Some of them are usually enclosed in hard plastic, very unlikely those are the ones that cause trouble. Some of them are just styrofoam blocks wrapped in chicken wire. Those ones have, over time, the chicken wire ruts out and then, muskrats burrow into that material. Because it's easier than burrowing into a shoreline. Perhaps the one thing that we know that we can do is that we could follow up on an initial alert to everyone about this problem with some suggestions for their doing their own inspection before they put the dock in the water.
Okay,
It's not forming up, but right now, we've told everybody how to take care of your dock and your styrofoam. We haven't really told them how to identify their dock.
can you email me what that would say, and Victoria and I'll get it out to people?
Yeah, I think I can work on that.
Okay, just doesn't have to
Take
be,
me away from my 9 elements.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think the styrofoam is. I don't wanna say urgent, but it's more timely right now.
More immediate, yep, okay, thank you, and then we can sort of make that happen, we'll do the Christos thing. With what Soil and Water does, we can couple those together, that would be so good, okay. We're still trying to figure out the don't get eaten alive thing, Bill, right, and the things homeowners can do to protect their land. Still trying to figure those two things out so we can share it. with-
Yeah, well. Yeah, I'm not sure where that is, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right. Willowbrook, I'm kind of lost when it comes to Willowbrook, where we are, was this one of those items that completely waits for the 9E plan to be written? Or are we thinking we need to initiate, or is it one of those items that can't wait for the 9E, we should start something now? I cannot remember our decision.
I think it's worthwhile saying, we have observations from the material that we just got from, the,
Corps of Engineers.
Freshwater Institute, that it has a relatively high sediment measurement, but a relatively low flow rate. And so somebody who knows more about water and how you want to measure that than I do. But I think we can say we've identified this, we see it as an issue. And it's complicated because it flows through where there's a lot of private properties. It's not like going to a farm where you've got one farmer that owns the whole length of the part of the tributary that you want to work on. So it's a complicated problem. I don't expect to get something like that finished. But what we ought to say, that this is a problem. We're probably going to need grants for this, and we'll have to deal with, not only fixing whatever we think we got to fix, but we got to fix the properties that we mess up, and we got to negotiate all that. And I would think that would be a long process. To
All right.
work on.
That sounds like it waits for the 9E.
I think so. I mean, I would like to take a tour of it in the spring.
Yeah.
And educate myself, because I'm so ignorant really on what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It sounds like anecdotally though, from what people say, that there are sort of known spots where there have been retention basins or whatever you want to call them, and they're like now been filled in for many years. So it might be low hanging fruit in the sense of we've identified something, we know it's got, say, a 10-year lifespan, and we know that within 10 years, that's another round of looking for a grant or something just to get it cleaned out, but.
So we'll,
Yeah.
we'll wait till you review it and before we decide.
Yeah, and everybody, I'm probably the most ignorant person at the table right now, in Millbrook, but.
Oh, no,
No,
no, there are more, there are more.
We are legion.
It's just gonna.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that.
Okay, definitely.
No, I wanted to be the most ignorant person.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe like the earliest possible would be like a grant for next year.
Okay,
But yeah, certainly within the plan, because it really might be part of our long-term planning.
okay. Well, let's go to the Lake Fund grant requests. Jake sent out an email with them all in one, which was great. And that wasn't new. You have had some time to read them, except for the sign one, which came out. We had plenty of time to look at it. Our job here, as Jake outlined, is to say, yeah, that seems to be connected to the 9E and would qualify as a qualified grant to go to the Lake Fund Committee. That's all we need to do. So shall we discuss one by one? The first one is that I have on here is the OCCA request from Sheldon. Thoughts on that? Does it meet the 9E? Does it sound like it meets the?
This is the one that, as a study, HABs, is that the one, or is it?
This is for invasive species.
Invasive
Invasive.
species.
I wouldn't,
So if I could just note
Yeah.
overall, like, I guess my problem with the 4 grants that we
Yeah,
have is
yeah.
just the limited funds that we have, really, is more the issue than anything, because. I'll just state at the offset that I think all 4 seem very valid, water protective efforts. If I can speak to invasive species stuff, I know that they work on all kinds of invasive species, like plant removals and stuff. And those can be very important. We have a lot of invasives that are like right on the edges of our systems and right in local areas. And some of them, you know, once they get set up, they're very difficult for, so. My opinion is that it's certainly well worth funding.
I agree with your comment. I've talked with Jeff Katz about that, but and I agree that all of them certainly are important to protection of the watershed, which is what the 9E is about. I guess if anyone doesn't feel confident. Now, here's the thing though, this is gonna go through their process. The grant okay, hold on, Paul. Grant application itself might not pass their muster. I don't know. We haven't looked at that. That's up to them. And they decide the money they send where. So all we have to do is say, yeah, this fits the 9E. This is not outside at all. It's right in the ballpark. Go ahead, Paul.
But yeah, OCCA has done some great work, in the past, half dozen years on this, immediate response stuff. But, PEC threw a monkey wrench into those rapid responses last year, when they changed the definition of wetlands in New York and included, our littoral zones on the lakes in those. And so, as I found out when we were trying to have our risk stewards do a little bit of AIS removal. We are severely constrained right now without licenses. Now, there's supposed to be some work ongoing to put out blanket licenses for certain types of AIS. But I haven't seen product yet, and so I'm concerned that some of what is described in the OCCA proposal might not be feasible, at least in 2026. And I hate to say that, but it's something that we need to look squarely in that.
Okay, Victoria, thoughts?
Yeah, we did run into this issue when they changed the definition, so we had to stay out of certain water bodies for a while, but we did get permission to work in the more restricted areas. They worded it very vaguely where it was like, we're allowed to go in there sometimes and just don't take too much and don't, you know, mess up the system, but we did get permission to go to some of the ones that changed. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if there's any kind of specific permit related to that, but we had been in contact with DC people and they gave us the go ahead, so.
That's good news.
I'd like to see the details of this personally. I'm interested in it. I don't pretend to be an expert in it, but I've read a lot. I was on one on the internet this morning about what's going on in Ohio, and it's the amount of effort that's being done now to look at how humans interact with toxins. It's just incredible. I mean, it just ballooned 2 or 3 years ago. Nothing going on, and they've got very sophisticated laboratories that are looking into stuff. It's very thorough and very complicated, and I also think that Kyoko should get her opinion of that specifically, that one. Just because she knows a lot about that and does, you know, has her own data about the toxins in our lake, and just make sure we're not missing something that we should either way, either our interest or their interest. And I don't mean to slow it down or to not support it. I just think it'd be good if we had a communication pathway between them and us about what's going on there, because it's pretty important for our work, I think.
Okay, we can have Kyoko review it, but we won't hold it up here, because our only job again is to say, does it?
In general, it's, I
Yeah.
support it, absolutely.
And then I'll just send a note to Shelby asking her to consult with Kyoko on it as well.
Yeah, I will say though, our work is on invasive species, at least for this grant, not so much the haves. So it's just, physically removing invasives. Specifically, we work a lot in the systems above the lake, trying to keep them from getting into the lake. We have a different program for haves, but this is just the insects.
Okay. All right, so how about others? We're essentially saying we're okay with all of them to go forward from the perspective of the 9E plan. Is anyone opposed, any member opposed to that? Is any team member opposed to that?
No.
Okay, so all in favor? Opposed? Abstaining, and you're abstaining. Oh, you're voting. That's right. Never mind, you're biased, so biased. Okay, so we will send those through. Good, thank you.
Bertine, can I just chime in 1 sec?
Oh,
I thought you weren't gonna be on today, Jeff.
That's a rumor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, the rumor spread fast. Go ahead, please.
I just want to say, like any grant process, there's always limited funds, whether it's 20,000 this round or 100,000 another round. The requests are always multiples higher. I think the way you guys have been discussing these things in terms of their relevance should end up helping the advisory committee prioritize, even if they're all great, one of the ones that are more important, that should get more funding. I've never been a fan of, well, we have 20,000 and we have 5 applications, so everyone gets 4. That's lazy thinking, right? So I just want to say that the way you guys are kind of commenting on this will filter its way through the advisory committee. That's going to help decide which rise to the top and which don't.
Well, we haven't talked about these, Jeff, so I want to give fair airtime to all of them. I mean, the internship at BFS couldn't be more important. It has been the backbone to trying to make sure that we have the data to support all the work that's been done on the 9E.
Right.
I don't know if university folks are in a position to do this, but can the grant applicants be advised by the grantors that it's not just us, but the hard end of this is the science, or the back end of this is the science actually going to be conducted, and how will they coordinate with other field scientists who are doing, at least to know, if they're going to explore this area, we'll go do that because we think you might be better over here, without getting involved in their work. But it's hard for us to, for example, Jeff, your point is, how can we help the advisory committee prioritize what
That's-
grants they want to make?
Yeah.
And I think that's hard to do at the front end, given our limited involvement, but on the back end, I don't know, maybe a grantee gets some guidance upon receipt of the grant, or.
So Jeff, so the committee is me, Jim Howard, and Florian. That's who makes the
Right.
recommendation to the Community Foundation Board. So if you would like somehow for the 3 of us to rank them, then I would have to ask my scientific and other team members to help me do that. And I think Jim would feel the same way.
I think it's more of just a flavor of discussion. I mean, this discussion about the one you just covered is very helpful. Joe, just to answer you on the back end, I am always available to the applicants to discuss what they're looking at, and when certain applicants have multiple things they're looking at, what I do tell them is on their end to prioritize. It's a limited fund, and if one thing is paramount in importance, decide on your own if you want to compete with that one thing. So just trying to make them understand that they should bring to the table what they feel is most important. That's the back end part.
Mhm.
And the hope is, and both hopes are hopeful. We went from a fund that didn't exist to a fund that's consistently giving grants out, on an annual basis. The more applications that come in should show that there's a need for this fund to grow, and that should spread. So, as pledges come in, as the cash at hand grows, these grant rounds will grow as well. This one's twice as big as last year. Was this year 10,000? I think the year before was 15. So, we're heading in the right direction. But to your point, it's limited funds. But you don't, it's not a funnel to any one applicant, right? It's a competitive grant round that should cover a lot of territory. So I'm really pleased by the amount of interest this year as opposed to previous years.
Thanks.
Good.
Okay,
Thanks, Devin.
yeah, go ahead, please.
Jeff, asking you for some sort of help in prioritizing.
He said no. Did you say yes or no? Jeff, do you want us to prioritize in some way?
I guess it's gonna be hard if you don't discuss them all. If you just blanket say, do all of these fit? Then that's gonna be the nature of the discussion. I think if you have any kind of insight, I don't wanna give you guys more work than you already have all the time, but just, to say they're all great.
No, that's not what we're saying, Jeff. You asked
No,
us.
I'm not saying you are saying, I'm just saying some are gonna outweigh others. So you just said the work of the interns from BFS is of paramount importance. Okay, I heard that. Right?
Well, then,
Is that,
no, I'm uncomfortable with this. And so is the salt shed. So is the salt shed for Springfield. So that 30% of that doesn't end up in the, I mean, I couldn't put, maybe I'd put the signs lower than the other three, honestly, the only thing that WSC is requesting. But I think that.
no, it was just a thought. If you're gonna discuss it in discussion, will come different layering, but if you're uncomfortable with it, we've certainly had multiple years of going through applications and making the decision, so I'm not worried that we can't do that.
No, I'm not saying we
I
can't.
would say that my review was to see if they were consistent with the 9E plan, if they supported the 9E plan. If I'm going to be ranking them, I need to go back and ponder some more. I'm not sure to do that now.
Yeah, I agree.
I suspect that's the case for some of the other examples. Okay, that can be skipped. The reality is that any review committee will do its own prioritizing when applications come in, but they'll read the application, so that's all fine.
Okay.
There's no reason to go a place you're not comfortable with.
Okay, and we don't have the time either. So that's the other thing from a perspective of when they're due. So I will get back to all three and say that WSC as a whole agrees that their applications are consistent with those things that will help the 9E plan be successful.
I think that's, yeah.
And then if anyone wants to talk to me about a particular one, since I'm on the committee, or Jim or Florian, let me know and I'll do some study before the committee meets to make sure I have any information I need at that committee to make whatever case needs to be made. Fair enough? Okay.
Sounds good. And for what it's worth, I would be happy to just offer you my pro and con thoughts
Great.
for the three of you. You have a number of other experts, but they're also.
That's wonderful. How about anyone else? Christos, Doug,
Well, there's a couple of the
Paul,
ample metric. And the. Working on one for
I don't know is it that. I don't know if the manhole one was one of the applications of the. Does everybody know about that? They heard about that today?
no,
So SRBC is applying for
yeah, but
possibly
that doesn't
getting.
have anything to do with.
Yeah, that's different. As far as I know, that's not an application to the lane fund per se. They
But
just
we'll,
want to know whether it was a cooperative effort.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at this meeting though. It just didn't get there in time enough for me to put it on. the agenda. So I will make sure we talk about that.
All right, so the remote sensing, the application, basing and like a step function, increase in data collection capabilities once in place with the, like the, sensor that was put on shadow. That will just enhance our ongoing ability to understand what's going on, but. Scientist or sort of everything else, and then or then we go look at that one. That
Well,
committee, I think, would be of significant enhancement.
All right, let's just take one thing at a time. So we're done with the Lake Fund grants, but it's not yet on the agenda, but let's go to the one from Joanna Ripto. Sent to all of you. Expect everyone to weigh in here. Thoughts?
Sorry, Ricky, you mean in?
The water level sensors, Broad Seagull Lake? I
Yes.
sent it to everybody.
Right.
So I'd definitely be happy to hear Matt's opinion on this. I know that VFS has been working on some lake level monitoring possibilities.
Did you get them?
I also don't know is if like the funds are immediately available for to participate. I think having a better understanding of lake level is certainly valuable, but if there is a cheaper long-term option, that would probably be the village's interest. But I didn't know how, it seemed like that's actually moved fairly far along, right? Like
It has. I have kind of mixed feelings about it. It's been slow. I'm at the mercy of Dr. Fox at the college. He's a physics professor. And he's making these little radar gizmos for almost nothing, like $10 or something crazy. He's not really into so much the environmental implications, he's into the gadgetry. He likes to have these little toys out there that can broadcast data to whoever wants it. We did put one in front of a hill station on the lake, and I am not able to retrieve data, though he is and is sending it to me. It worked great until yesterday. The ice started moving and flattened my gauge. Luckily, I have a backup marker on a permanent fixture, so I can reestablish my gauge without having to spend $2,000 on a surveyor again. We put another one of these units out at the gauge site at the dam in front of the treatment plant. It's too far from the fuel stations to relay data as it is. We need to put a boost drop. So this is kind of the way it is. There's always, a problem that we can overcome. We're making progress. It seems like we're pretty close to being there. So in a way, it might not be a great expense use of money to go a different route. At the same time, probably a lot more goes into maintaining records of lake level and what's people recognize between animals and ice and trees falling and batteries burning out and this and that. But somebody said, well, we're gonna spend the money and do it on our own, I would say, go for it. Go for it. So,
Is that what they're saying? They'll. While not a USGS gauge, wanted to gauge your interest in using these sensors in light of our prior discussion of water level monitoring. So are they free to us? Do you get that sense?
No, they're not, it's not expensive. What do you, do you have any sense for what it?
Each plus $20 a month.
That's the part that I think
Yeah.
is the long term. But crazy amount, but if you've got, we got 5 of them.
This, so the college, the fuel
Yeah,
station,
for
the
time.
fuel station has invested about $400 on the receiver to get the signals that these boxes are putting out. So we have a little bit invested in it.
Sure.
What I would like to do, and I think we can do, is once everything is working, to post it online so people can view it themselves. Because people do inquire a lot. I have people complaining from both ends of the spectrum.
Sure.
The lake's too high, it's messing my dock up. The lake's too low, I can't get the sail get out and fall.
Yeah.
Right.
I obviously have no argument. I'm in charge of recording levels, and I'll throw my opinion out when people ask for it, but that's as much as I can do.
We currently give you $20.
$20 a month, what?
That was my attitude about it until this last weekend when I was working on this talk for the meeting in May.
Yeah.
That because our blooms tend to occur where we see them, these in relatively shallow areas, the control of the level of the water in the lake, or at least to know about it, I think is getting to be more and more important, because it has to do now with how far down sunlight can penetrate to activate the cyanobacteria, and wake them up and have them start making oxygen floating around. And I would have said exactly what Matt just said a week ago, but I think after thinking about this, I think that having better knowledge and measurement of the level in the lake, even though it's very hard to control, you could at least predict, knowing where, you know, very carefully where it is, what is likely to happen with regards to cyanobacteria activity. And that I think it's probably going to be a valuable thing to have.
You know, one of the things that caught my attention that you just, when I read it, and now when you just said it, was, while it's not a USGS gauge. Well, I guess my question is, what about the thought of recruiting our congressmen and senators to help us get funding for a USGS gauge at the dam? And maybe this dam review is going to be part of that, but I think it's in the interest of, go ahead.
No, please finish. I wanted to supplement the answer.
Well, it's just the observation that the idea of being tied into a USGS network with all its sophistication and capabilities and interactivity. And so, I mean, because out west, the clients I work with were all over those gauges on Western rivers. So it seems to me this is an appropriate site for one, but I don't know what the criteria are. But anyway, that's just a thought. Get the real equipment. It doesn't have to be jury rigged, and it's tied into a lot of other standardized measurements that are going on.
What I wanted to say is that going and reaching out to like your state legislature is that they do help when they can. I'm not saying that they don't, but at the same time is that I have faced a situation where sometimes either in case they're not elected and somebody else comes in, or they decide to retire, or they're not there for whatever reason that there is. A lot of times those fundings can either get lost or be what's it called? They might take forever. They might be obligated and all of that, but they might take even longer than how do I say this? It's kind of it's soft funding. That's the best way that I can describe it. Where unlike a grant or something, you get the award letter, and that basically means that like 98% of the time, all that's left is to fill out the paperwork, and you eventually make it your funding. That one is it's more ethereal. That's the best thing that I can say. Reaching out to them.
I recognize that.
I'm not saying that they won't help, so, and I want that to be, and I want that to be known, but there are risks that come with that, and I know that from personal experience.
Thank you.
There's really a couple different things that people are talking about when they're talking about gauges, and I think the difference being that you're talking about a USGS gauge, you're looking at a tool that allows you to directly calculate flow over weir. Right now, we're actually talking about the lake level, so it's really two completely different things. If people are talking about a USGS gauge, you're talking about something that's going to be like $100,000 plus huge annual fees. Whereas we're simply looking at a way to make it a little bit more sophisticated than walking down an icy set of stairs and looking at a gauge.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah.
So it's really a whole different scale of intention of what you're getting. I think, these level pressure transducers that is being suggested in this, my experience with them is that they're getting better now, but when I've used them, they have not been nearly as precise and accurate as I would want them to be. Plus or minus a centimeter, I think is good, but I did not have that for the one of them. Right now, I'm taking 4 pictures a day, hoping that at least one of them is good as far as and that sort of thing. If I have more, I take the average of them. This gizmo that Fox is making is I think as good as you can hope for, and I don't see spending more money. If you have sub-centimeter precision at 10-minute intervals, which is what he's doing, that's great. You just need the reliability.
Can't close the door
Can't
for
close the
public
door.
meetings. Can't close the door.
Wasn't our.
The kids are fine.
Wasn't our.
Kids are fine. But I wanted to,
So I guess I'm confused now. When I write back. So we don't have the money. That they are suggesting they may need from us. I'm hearing that it's not necessarily, oh my God, this is great, I'm not hearing that. I hate to say no to anybody in the Susquehanna.
Give me a couple of weeks, see what kind of progress we can make.
Of course.
you know, I'm thinking, I was talking to Tom in our water and sewer board meeting about how much of the lake level is actually within physical control of our current system. And my guess was about a foot. And that's about what he said. For example, if you could, I went down to Council Rock the other day and it's inundated. But it's deceptive because a foot exposes a heck of a lot of Council Rock, it changes elevation. So it seems like it's a much greater change that we're experiencing. So when you talk about a centimeter plus or minus, and we're operating in a window like this, you know, then you wonder about the scientific value of an instrument that's calibrated that not so finely.
Late last summer and into the fall, the lake reached 60 centimeters below optimal on several occasions. And we all know that the lake was really low. And it was right on the edge of not feeding the river, and that would have been bad.
Yeah.
Because the DC requires flow there. So 60 centimeters is about that edge of where we could be. Having the refined measurements helps us gauge, you know, is it going up, is it going down, is it going down as fast as we want. You know, last week when we were getting huge meltwaters in the storms, and Tom opened it up and he couldn't let it out as fast as he wanted to, but it peaked the next day and was dropping, and that's good. So, you know, having good data, nearly real-time data at his disposal allows him to do a very important job.
All right, so let's give you some time to let us know what we should do about this, and then we'll write back to them. But I'll let them know that we're doing an analysis, so they don't think we're not responding.
Are we gonna talk more about 90?
About 90?
Are we going to leave that?
What do you mean?
I have something about the 90 plan that I want to talk about, but
Yeah, but let me just get through the agenda.
yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's.
So we're gonna review the pending sections, because I never get any comments on the pending section. I'm not gonna go through every item and say, is this okay or not, but I'd like you to get back to me, all of you, about the pending sections, and let me know if there's something's missing or something can come off or it should be active. And then my question here, what needs to be done before the 9E? I already have the Willowbrook answer. What about the water line? Are we gonna do something about that between now and the 9E?
I think we made a commitment for this summer to do some work to see if it's necessary. I crunched 35 years worth of temperature profile data recently. As of now, the thermocline of the lake is not decreasing in depth. So the fear that there was some imminent fear of having the warmer water drop to the intake point and thereby exposing, you know, blue green blooms and toxins and that sort of thing. It's a big fear. It's a very realistic fear. It does not seem to me to be imminent. So I don't think there's a fire under us.
All right,
What we learned this summer will be valuable in making decisions.
Matt, you're knocking it out of the park today. What about the temperature probes? What's the story with that?
The temperature that the intake is heavily influenced by the setch, simply because it is at the end of the lake, right where that drop off is. I'm telling you, we go down there one time and it's warm, and the next time we go down, it's cold.
Well, that's why we're gonna propose to do this work this summer.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so that'll take care of that as well, to understand more about temperature gauges and what we need to do, if anything.
It'll be a good start.
There'll be a start, okay, all right, great, starts are good, all right, wonderful. I was not clear where we left either of those. Okay, Bill, the 90.
Well, just to follow up on this, there's 10 or 12 old dams up in
Yeah,
that basically get warmed up in the summer, and the water that's coming off the top of those dams is all warm water. And that's gonna affect the temperature in the lake. And we could go after them. It, you know, depending upon how we saw the benefit would be and all the other parameters that would go with taking down a dam and getting the nutrients out that's back there. But there's one up just on Route 80 that we took pictures of it the other day, and you look out at this large area back up behind the dam, and you look over in the corner and find out here's this thing that's about maybe 12 feet wide, and that's where the water is coming into it. The rest of that is just a huge reservoir that is backed up from that dam. And I don't think we have the engineering or the sophistication, right? At least I don't. Rhea might, because I know she's interested in this. But that's more of the potential for the control of the lake temperature, the lake level, the lake, all that stuff that's out in the future there that we may need to be able to control. That helps control the algal blooms that we don't want to have anymore.
just when I think we can move on. Oh my gosh, so what's this, so what are we gonna do about the dams then?
I think there's a lot to that, Bill. For one thing, those are the same dams that are creating impoundments that are keeping nutrients instead of.
Well, yes.
Like, which is what we want. Plus, the amount of inflow that occurs during the warm season is very, very small amount.
Well, that's true. Well, it is big at
The vast majority of flow is happening now in March and April, when water's cold.
Yep.
Okay, so this is something we'll put on 90 pending. We need to not lose sight of it, but it's, okay.
Bill, can you get me whatever you have on that overall topic? Because I agree very much with Matt. It's in a way, some of that stuff is a big black box. You just don't, there's too much stuff you have to study to have like a comprehensive thing. But it doesn't mean it can't be mentioned
Yeah,
and noted, like we talk about the ponds, the comments and stuff that we have like a solid knowledge base on and concern about. But then also extend it to some of that, so you have more stuff.
we
Yeah, I
can
don't,
get it to the consultants.
I don't have a lot more than what I just said.
That's
But
okay.
I'll be glad to share what I have.
Okay. All right, in terms of the teamwork, communication team, we just had a brief meeting before the meeting, and we are going to, both Victoria and I are a little concerned that we're not doing some public communication. So we were thinking we might have some sort of a meeting with both the business owners and the people who actually live around the lake, not she and I, but you know, separate from consultants, put it that way. But we were thinking of talking about that and how complicated that would be. We've got great partners in Alan and Ryan. And we may be able to do this fairly simply and just do an update about where we are. Have a few, you know, scientific experts there to help us. So we're thinking about that. I would appreciate any input you have now or after you sort of think about it. So that's what we're working on. I think the regulatory committee's work is right now done. Jeff Weppel has agreed to be the chair of that. So,
Yeah,
and he'll be very good at that work. Scientific modeling, I don't have an update on the committee.
it's moving forward. We do have meetings coming up soon for the PMPs.
This has been the most active, active
Report, but
committee.
it's definitely very active.
So
Yeah,
in that modeling exercise, back to Bill's point about the dams and those streams, we have some inflow data and low records of what they're presenting to the lake.
no, no, no.
No.
I would know, obviously.
Going back to the early 90s when I was reading my thesis report, I have a lot, but that's not much since then. It's old.
A little long ago, 4 times.
But that seems to me to be a data point that really
And that's
informs.
why That's why I addressed that the way I did, because I have a background in that.
And then I don't think the ag tributary group is met, right?
No,
Fine.
I need to get together a collection of the best management practices that have been done here. And I don't know, Christos, I don't know if you know some kind of record of what's been done generally in,
Around the lake. I know where I can find it.
do you?
Yes.
I mean, I thought that, I was looking, when I was getting this talk together, there's a nice article that's around 2000 about somebody describing how much money they had for BMPs that, well, it sounded like a lot of work went on. It doesn't say anything about the specifics or even generally where they are, but
That's because, again, I've said this a couple of times now, there is confidentiality.
Right.
Between the district and the farmers and all of that. That being said and done, I know that I've sent, either I or one of my techs sent this group intel about the BMPs and what they are and their approximate location around the lake watershed. So I can scrounge back into some of the older emails and find that all over again, should you need that to happen, because unless there's something that I've completely overlooked, and you need me to find it.
that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for what you were describing is what, there's been a lot done apparently in the last 20 years or so. And I don't know how much of it is left and or that we think it really, we need to stomp in there and really,
What more needs to
you
be
know,
done? Okay.
that's kind of what I'm, because we're not doing is, I mean, the story that was in these articles about how over about 20 years, the nitrogen and phosphorus levels took it from oligotrophic to mesotrophic. And then they started working on it. And it's not, it was just, a lot of it was the septic systems. But it says that they had like $2 million worth of grants for the best management practices, but I have no idea what, where or who, what, or what kind of, I presume they did shoreline stuff, in the tributaries that, there's always some stories about those things that happened, but I thought we should know at least what kind of an effort had been done before we got to where we are now.
So just getting that report, I think is all you're.
I can attempt to scrounge in some of our older records. Going back to the early aughts about what happened around the lake watershed. And I'm assuming you're looking for more beyond agricultural stuff, like literally anything, correct?
I thought the agricultural stuff would be really important. I mean, everything I read is the ag is the big phosphorus producer. That, if that's pretty much been done, then we're looking for the other things that we can work on to keep it in a reasonable level so that we don't just completely turn into a green lake.
I can attempt to find any older grants that were implemented around the lake watershed.
So
While I have your attention, if I can show you this one thing that is it's a little off the subject, but I was putting together this thing and I thought we should describe what the 9E elements are. And I'm sure you've all seen this. If you look up 9E on the internet, this is the page you get from the Department of State. And it lists the 9 elements that are given alphabetical letters here, which it drives me nuts. And over here, it has the key points. And it pretty much, there's a couple key points that are measured, specifically in there that we got to pay attention to. But down the third key point is restoration and protection strategies are identified. And I don't think we've been doing anything about that.
Yikes, read them out loud.
No, it just, that's what it says. We're supposed to do that, I presume. it's not, I think this is the 10th element, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know
Restoration
what they're
and
look-
protection strategies are identified.
But I haven't been doing anything about it. I haven't been thinking about it and I haven't been
Well,
looking. for it.
again, though, that's an end product of the stuff we're doing. So we have the municipal assessments, we have the modeling work, which is moving along. That again is gonna start with some individual meeting with more subject experts, and you will be there for the ag portion. And then that's to discuss the realm of possibility. So Christos will be
I just think that while
letting us know that the realm of possibilities, and then we can, once we've identified what's possible in terms of ag, what's possible in terms of the built environment, what's possible in terms of septics, and hopefully are able to model some of those. The next step then is to take, all right, here we've identified the possible things that we could do from our experts in terms of ag BMPs. Here's the implication of those in terms of what our model says. And then there's a larger discussion with the community and with the municipality leaders in terms of deciding exactly how we're gonna lay those out in the nine element plan. What actually are the priorities we're gonna do? So I think that's a developing thing.
how do we go about it? This may be two sentences at the end of each one of these things that we're gonna address fairly specifically about what Willowbrook is a good example. It's gonna be a restoration and protection strategies. Could be a lot to try and imagine we're gonna do something that's gonna go through a lot of different people's private properties. I didn't have that as part of what I thought they were gonna be specifically looking for, but it says key points. It doesn't, this isn't just.
But I think what Jacob's trying to point out to us is that restoration and protection strategies are the BMPs that we're gonna develop through this process. Those are the.
Oh, I see
BMPs.
what you're saying. Well, okay.
That's,
Is that right?
yeah, in my mind, they're just sort of two different ways to describe the.
I didn't think.
When we develop them, we'll make sure that there's something in there about Willowbrook or whatever
Cut
it
it
might
down.
be.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I have to imagine, I mean, it's somewhat the decision of you all and the community, but we're already at a very lengthy document before we're even close to having it completed. So if you look at the 9-element plan, we're shaping up to be way, way over the length of most of them. And we do want to have a focus on it being like publicly digestible. And I think a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is briefly in the report. Maybe if we have the background, it's extensively within the appendices.
I guess just saying that these things that we are doing are specifically
Using the language.
using the language
Using the way he's
of this thing.
So-
So the people that are reading this are, I have no idea,
Grant
Yeah,
trips, make
right.
sure we
I
use the
think-
language.
Sure.
I think one of the big problems for me about this 9E plan is my first reaction to it. I'm a lawyer. It's a section of the law. 9E says do something. Then you say, what's the 9-element plan? And when I look into this, it really is it's 9 divided by 3. The first 3 are, problem identification and best management practice, getting to that. Then the second 3 are funding and how we're going to get it, who's going to participate. And then the last 3 are, when are we going to get it done? And it's, it's all there, but I think, yes, to have 9 elements and then letter them is starting the communication problem. But I do think we shorthand so much that the public we're serving doesn't really have a clue what a 9-element plan means.
But I take your point, Bill, is that if this is what the experts are saying, then we should have that language in there. We should have that language in there. So point well taken. I'm sure the consultants know that.
I just use that language. I think if we do that at all, at least we said we've read that carefully. But I was not thinking of that.
Okay. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the public law 1100. I asked Jacob to wait on this until this meeting. Jacob has studied what it would take for us to develop a plan to make sure that we respond to what the public law 1100 says we have to do in terms of the tributaries and all of that. And I wondered if you thought the next meeting might be the time to sort of bring that forward, to share it with the committee in terms of your thoughts about, you've got a plan for the sort of the next year and a half to do that.
Or,
The tributaries, septic review of the tributaries and how many
so first
properties.
of all, I'll say that like that is already ongoing. Florian has reached out to somebody at the school. We're gonna see if there's some interns that can put together math. My point would be, anything you want to do in the tributaries at this point in terms of additional septic sampling, from my perspective, is currently an unfunded mandate.
No,
So
I,
if there is in the end, like, staffing, so we could do that. But I would have real concerns about starting any of that process of adding additional systems until we are much further along in this 911 plan, or that will subvert most of our goals. And our
Yeah.
public meetings will turn into, why are you coming to my house? So my caution is just because we have so much on our plate. So I do not.
I'm not asking for that. I'm asking for the, I'm
list.
asking for the document that you did outlining what it would take over the next 2 years. That you submitted to me, that we share that with WSC.
Okay.
Because I agree with you.
Yes.
I agree with you. It's nothing we
Okay.
can do right now,
Okay.
but.
Well, I apologize, but yeah, to me, it is a multi-year plan.
Yeah.
And, I just don't want to shortchange what it's going to take. And I'll be happily send that out tomorrow.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, it's a good document and it sort of outlines to us what it looks like to try and reach that law so that we can say we've done it. And it's a multi-pronged approach. So I think it would be good for the committee to see what you're thinking there.
sure. And, what would I say? Yeah, again, I, in my mind, the most immediate concerns I have in terms of septics are what we already have on deck. Because just given the staffing limitations they already had before we started here. There's a lot that has to be done. I don't assume there's any problematic systems that we're concerned about at the moment, but, we certainly have quite a few that are outside of their certification.
Yeah.
And I think.
And you include
me
that in there.
alone,
Yeah,
sorry,
and you include that in your plan. We do
Yeah.
100 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So that will be my immediate goal. That's what I'll be starting right here in the spring, hopefully with LCAC. I'm also signing up for classes. So I can have some idea what I'm supposed to be doing. But yeah.
Okay, thank you. Well, and if people have questions, then we can talk about it at the next meeting, after Jacob sends it to you. Let's see, do we want to talk about the fee letter in open session? She said.
Sure.
So, there has been a draft letter developed that, Joe shared it with Jake and I. Bill had a couple of thoughts, about it, that, could enhance it, even more. So I think, after the March 23rd meeting, where there's a public meeting to discuss it on the books. I would like WSC to go, as many people who can go as possible, to speak in favor of it. I will definitely stand up and talk at that meeting. After that, I think we'll make sure that this group reviews that letter, with some of the thoughts you have, Bill. And then I know that Bonnie at least has already talked to the Middlefield supervisor about it. I don't know if Paul or Bill have talked to their folks about it, but just to let them know that this is coming. And about the open meeting, the public meeting. I know Bonnie told the Middlefield group about that. And after that discussion and then a potential vote at the full board meeting, then this letter will be formalized. And at that point, we'll decide what the next steps are, whether it's a meeting with the town, with the municipalities, and then a go, or what that next process will be. I think that's where we are. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I think the idea here is collaboration and communication about what it's taking to do this one aspect of lake protection, which is making sure the septic systems are inspected and properly certified. So that's going to take some money to do. And the idea of this approach is that the Watershed Supervisory Committee, comprised of representatives of municipalities, agree that this is something that has to be done. We've gotten to that point. And now we have to persuade we, the representatives, have to persuade our respective boards to that. And because, my notion is, and I think it's held by many, that the best way this is going to be received favorably in the communities is if the leaders of the communities send out a letter announcing what this plan is. So their voters are hearing from them at the outset. They're not hearing from the village of Cooperstown, who's volunteered to do all the logistics of this, getting a bill and saying, remit to the village of Cooperstown. So this, I think, is a really important diplomatic step, communication step, educational step to make this process work and be seen as constructive and favorable. But it does take us as representatives, I think, plowing the ground with our own boards to make sure they understand and are prepared favorably to receive the draft letter, because the draft letter is designed to be put on the respective municipalities' letterhead and signed by the supervisor with the approval of at least the acquiescence of some sort from their board members. That's the idea.
So I can tell you that that's not going to happen in the town of Otsego.
It is not going to be received. It's not going to be.
It's not going to be put out with the town of Otsego to letterhead. Town of Otsego is perfectly prepared to direct any queries about the fee to the village.
Okay. So that I hear you. I guess what I was hoping from I think we all are, it's not me, that again, about this collaboration is that we are all going to be communicating much the same message to everybody that each town has jurisdiction over. And so the town of Otsego would just prefer us to do that. And if that creates some bumps in the road, then we'll just have to deal with that.
So Paul, let's make sure we're saying the same thing. So there's two things here. There's the acceptance by the town or the municipality and their board that we're gonna do this and it's probably the right thing to do. Then there's the okay, so that's all, okay, great, perfect. The administration, yes, the village has accepted responsibility for all the vagaries of that. If somebody complains, if somebody won't pay it, the village will deal with all of that, whatever that means. But the acceptance that this is the right thing to do, you feel that Otsego is on board with that? Yes? Paul?
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to
Oh, okay.
rephrase conversations I've had. I don't know that I can say that, but I know there's no pushback.
Okay.
Everybody knows that this has to happen. The town of Otsego sees this as a village of Cooperstown requirement, and it's not going to get involved.
Do you think that in fairness to the members of the board and any members of the public that attend Otsego town board meetings that representatives of the Watershed Supervisory Committee should stand up at a public comment section and explain this? I mean, I just, again, trying to communicate, not.
I suppose, I mean, that could happen, but the fact is that there's no planned meeting to discuss this fee in the town of Otsego.
Okay.
Do you think they'd be open to do you have a sense of whether the municipality would be open to having the letter go out notifying of the fee from the signed by the supervisor, like it will be for Middlefield and Springfield and Cooperstown?
That is correct.
Okay.
The vote taken, and that was the result of the vote.
So they will sign the letter. Okay.
No.
No, oh,
No,
no.
that's, this,
No, no letter, no involvement with the letter.
all right, so this, from, the town of Otsiko's,
No involvement with the letter.
okay.
There you have it.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, I'm just trying to make sure that we, I'm using the word too much, communicate. When, so I mean, I'll ask you, Routine, so should, there's no need for or no interest or no need or no concern that a delegation from the village or the Watershed Supervisory Committee and come out and discuss this. It's another tired word. It's a transparency issue to us. But if you think everybody's fully informed, and I want to say this too, this is not so much. There's certainly all the respect for each of the governments of the municipalities involved, but what we're trying to do here is show some respect to the property owners, and that we are following proper protocol. I mean, a lot of people aren't familiar with the law. They're not familiar with extraterritorial jurisdiction being exercised by one municipality over another. And so the idea that this letter would be met with, what the heck, that's not me, wrong town, I'm done. That just puts us in the hole tremendously in terms of ability to collect, realize the income that we can get to do our work with. So I guess to me, if there's a feeling by some in the town leadership that no interest in being involved in it, no pushback, it makes us be the interface with the people who they represent. And this letter was meant to be the bridge. It respects the government of the town of Otsego. It puts the government of the town of Otsego in a role to explain this common community, this community interest in lake health, and this measure we're taking to protect it. So I really this is just me speaking from my perspective, I would urge you, Paul, to in turn urge the town leadership to reconsider their current view on this and maybe think about embracing the letter.
Or Paul, here's the other thing. I know you're simply the messenger and the representative, which is, appropriate. Maybe WSC could have a conversation. And is it the whole board that had this view or just some reps?
No, this is the whole board decision.
Okay, so we could, WSC, here's what we could do. We could ask Paul to go back and say, geez, we'd like to have you reconsider, or WSC could send a note to the board, through the supervisor and say, we'd really like to have a conversation about this. We think there are some points here that might be helpful in terms of understanding what we're trying to do.
Right.
Happy to do that.
Right, and I think the most important point would be that you actually have a final version of the letter at hand that we're talking about. It's hard to talk about something in the abstract. Maybe the reaction is against the unknown, the known unknown.
Yeah.
So we'll make that,
Perhaps. I think that would be an appropriate point to ask for
sure.
reconsideration. But frankly, I'm not optimistic because this thing has been discussed more than once.
Oh, okay.
Okay, well, and I appreciate that.
And WSC team members have been present? Such as Pat Kennedy has been at the meeting. I assume she's on the board, right?
Yes.
Okay. Still,
Okay.
WSC
Well,
could simply ask if we could just have a discussion.
Right, and I think our job is, it's, in a way, it's not fair yet to invite a decision by the town board when they haven't seen what we're asking them to.
Sure.
Oh, so let's finish up our letter.
Okay.
And you make sure that this group sees that it says, including your additional thoughts on it, Bill, says what it needs to say, and
Okay.
and
then
then
we
there'll be
offer-
something real to consider.
Okay. Any WC members opposed to that approach? Okay, do we need to do it with Springfield, or you think Springfield's set?
I don't think, the government of Springfield has any problem with it at all.
Okay, and it sounds, Bonnie, like Middlefield is okay as well.
Yes, but again, they haven't seen the letter yet. I think that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
So I talks with Jeff Wemble and Ron Morgan.
Okay,
There's the support for the concept of it
So we'll-
and the protocol. of
Yeah.
it.
we'll offer it to everybody.
Yes, I think to dignify this process, we need to offer to show up and
Okay,
walk through the letter with each board if it wants to
All right.
hear us on that.
Paul, thank you very much for conveying that information. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. I do think it's worth saying somehow to the public that everybody that uses the lake in any way, fishing, looking at it, walking around it, skating on it, whatever, needs to participate in the care of the lake. Some people, they'll volunteer their time. For some people, they will look after whatever they have in a special way.
They all use the water.
But, well, not everybody does. Even the people that live on the lake don't always use them.
Well, they look at it.
They look
Make
at it.
use of it.
They don't
They
swim
look
in
at
it, they
it.
don't boat in
I-
it, they don't.
and that's,
They didn't
That's
spend their
part-
money not to look at the lake.
I'm not trying to, I just to think that the fact that this is singling out this one group, when there's a lot of people that put boats in that don't get charged for it, there's a lot of activity around the lake that is relatively free from having a charge that would go to support, to be collected by government. And this is gonna look like you're picking out one group of people, and the rest of them get a free ride. Now, they all, guys that pay the motels to put their boats in, I'm sure they pay a lot for whatever, those motels charge for a summer to have their boats in. Do those boats even get anybody to look at to see if they are cleaned, or they, I have no idea. There's a lot of that goes on that those people should contribute something in whatever way. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
we just don't
it's
have that
not-
answer yet.
It's not, it's just not one group of people that's being singled out. And it's not the biggest polluter. It's not the biggest issue anymore. It was at one time. But now things are pretty well under control. The people spend a lot of money on their septic systems, and they spend a lot of money getting them pumped out. I mean, I've got bills of $200 or $300 just to have them open up and pump it out, and that happens every couple of years. I just, having it spread out through all the people that use the lake, I think would be smart to have that concept as a part of it.
I agree.
I
I
offered some
have to
language
say-
about that. I offered some language about that. in my
Okay.
email.
Okay.
It's sort of a future thing. We don't know yet. It's just like Canandaigua does it, Lake George does it. Everyone we talk to has some sort of a system for people contributing to the health of the watershed. And we just haven't gotten there yet.
Not
Just haven't
everybody.
gotten-
I don't agree with that. It's not everybody. It's the people who live.
No. We talk about Canandaigua, Lake George.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
They can do what they want. I'm just saying, we maybe let this go too long. Maybe if they had started this 25 or 30 years ago, we would have felt differently. But I think we're asking for trouble. I mean, I don't have an objection to what we're doing. I just think that I don't want us to look like we're not interested in the entire lake health. And there's a lot of more angles to it than just septic systems. That's really the only point I'm trying to get.
Yeah, and the point I'm making, Bill, is different. That we don't yet have that formula to share with people. We can certainly say that in the future, everyone will have a responsibility. But we don't know what that is yet. It took Canandaigua a couple of years. It might take us a couple of years.
I want them to feel it. I want them to feel they have a responsibility. I don't care about how much it is,
No, I know,
but I'm not sure. And I think most people do.
Yeah, and I think we're not acting in isolation here. I think, the white paper that Jeff prepared and that we've circulated and that some of our other communication is conveying that we're not just parachuting in with a fee
Right,
letter.
right.
It falls into a context of a lot of other stuff we're doing. And frankly, for lay people, not necessarily scientists, they get that if you have 375 wastewater systems on the lake, when there are, parts of the lake with these properties cheek by jowl and no property really to speak of, except right on the water, that the idea of wastewater being individual property wastewater being carefully managed it's in everybody's interest. And I go, and it's not just, it was many times, it's not just the village water supply, it's do you want to swim in your neighbor's poop?
Yeah.
My knowing that my neighbor's system is inspected and on the roster and is certified is pretty darn reassuring. And that takes something to do.
Yeah.
That's my point. We're all in it. You can't just have an individual being isolated out. People have to feel that, or at least be exposed to that concept that everybody owes that to making it, and it's something we could lose. And it would be terrible.
And I guess what we don't know is what the ultimate bill for saving this lake. I mean, my metaphor is intensive care unit, talking to docs. I'm working on a river in western United States that's going to be on intensive care for the rest of humankind because it's dammed up and it's got to have assistance to be a river again. So I think the fact that we have this lake with these facilities on them, they have to be intensively or relatively intensively monitored, and that's what this program is about. Right, sorry.
That river that you speak of in the western United States, the Snake River?
No, that's one, the one I'm personally involved with is a Trinity River, tributary of the Klamath River,
Oh.
Northern
okay.
California. Yeah.
Just interested.
Okay, all right, so good conversation. I think the last thing today is boat laws. Question, are we tackling it now? Are we not doing anything with it? Is it gonna be in there? I gotta say, it's not prominent in the 9E. So yet,
What was what topic?
boat laws, wake boats, speed, washing, etc. Do we want to make that something that we look at between now and the time that the 9E is written? Do we want to wait for the 9E? I haven't gotten a clear view from the group.
To do that, I think we have to have the 3 towns and the village really working together, but there's no point in even starting this. And I do think that would be one good topic to bring up. But I don't see any point in trying to who's gonna be the authority to do that?
Well, that's where our intermunicipal regulatory, scheme comes in. We could come up with a model. And everybody adopts it.
We have a model. The model is no wake zone law.
Right.
We have to have the 4 municipalities and adopt a regulation in each of them that has identical wording. And then the sheriff's department can enforce, if the sheriff's department can enforce. There's also occasional DEC presence on the lake.
Right, but I think that wake zone issue is not but one of the things we want to be accounting for. So for example, we have a steward program at our lakefront, what we control, and yet there are people who show up, way early in the morning before the stewards may be there, and they're launching boats, and so one of the things you gotta be really careful about this, but I can see restricting, not limiting, not prohibiting, but restricting access times when we can manage some of these logistical issues that arise when people trailer in their boats.
Yeah.
So we have someone to inspect, we have the boat wash, but the consistency and frequency of its use, I don't know.
Okay, right.
So that goes to.
You're absolutely right. I always in New York restrict access when stewards aren't there.
Right. So it seems to me that there's an opportunity here to put together 4 or 5 things that we start with that we know are critical. And not wait for the 9E, because then we may lose a window of opportunity here. And then ask if the 4 municipalities can sit down and hash that out. Can we pull a document together? I don't know what those issues will be myself. That we should put down a document that says, here are the 4 things we'd like folks to consider.
I think there's a lot to go into that, and I'm looking at Jake when I say it, and I'm beginning to feel we're in this for the long run, and having it be a 9E task or objective. Rather than get it done now. I just don't know if we have the bandwidth to.
Then you're waiting 2 years.
I understand that. I understand that. I invite other people's reaction to that. I mean, as we were talking earlier, there are certain things that are not in a critical stage, and doing this methodically, one of the thoughts I have, if it's, think about the effort it would take to have 4 municipalities work on a common law that it does not only wakes, but has everything involved, and then get each of them to enact it. Maybe Cooperstown goes first. I don't know. I'm not gonna, it's just a thought. And then we have the lived experience of that law and say, and we have some tweaks we can make because of that experience. And then we get to a common law among the municipality, or a joint, approach to it. But sorry.
There was the standard 200 foot in the wake zone that was given amongst the municipalities following the regional management plan. States no wake zone is 100 feet, and there was unanimous approval to extend that to 200 feet locally, and that's still, buoys are still placed every year as 200 feet.
How did that, what is your recollection of how that part of it went? So it came from the plan, but
I think
how did you do that?
I think I could find some documentation on that, because I was talking to someone in DC not too long ago who said, oh, by the way, that was not a truly legal action that was taken. And I dug up evidence that proved that he was wrong.
There you go.
So that exists. There was a lot of discussion on it, and the DC bought into it, given that there was a one-person agreement that it should be done. Because at that time, that boat wakes, erosion and sediment resuspension was a big concern.
Yeah.
And I think, we know how infrequently we see law enforcement on the lake. So publicity about what a wake zone is and what it means, and keeping people apprised of that. So what is that? A sign at the dock. What is that? And you'll see a wake buoy. That this is what it is and what you should do about it. We're not just looking to crack down. We're looking to not have to crack down, because everybody gets the benefit of the no wake zone.
But now you're talking like wake boats.
No, just wakes up. I mean,
Well, I think the wake zone, my impression is that it's
It's already done. It's already done, yeah.
Obviously.
And it's well understood by voting public. We're not having it, we're not observing issues with people violating it.
Right, but I think the threat of wake boats becoming common on the lake is pretty scary.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that's what the focus now was. I think a boat going too fast within 200 feet of the shore is not nearly as bad as what a wake boat would do.
Yeah, so
Both
it's,
socially and environmentally.
that's what I'm thinking, is we take four things, we already have a wake zone. Put that right in, we already have a wake zone, so the boys are out there, cut it out. Then we have, 3 or 4 things, and we see if we can have a agreement among the municipalities that they'll work on this between now and whatever it takes to pass it. I know it's complicated, but if we wait 2 years, we're gonna have wake boats. And
Right,
we're
so-
gonna have,
Yeah, and I,
There's no reason to wait, there's nothing in the 9 element plan that's gonna change our understanding of this for. Boat inspection, to keep wake boats out. Or to even renew the no wake zone buoy. Regulation,
Yep.
which I haven't checked, but I've had somebody whisper in my ear. That regulation has expired in at least one municipality on the lake. It was not passed in perpetuity, it was passed for a specific period of time.
let me ask about wake boats for a second. We've had a little bit of debate in the village about this. I would propose that the village does have the authority to pass a rule for our own docks. That we will not issue a docking permit to, any wake boat. Key is to have a real clear definition of what a wake boat is, or a boat, even if it doesn't have a holding tank, if a boat is configured to be able to generate those massive wakes, that's something we've got to find a way to address. And then the second thing I would add to, in our village law would be to prohibit wake boats launching from our lakefront park. Now, that's a tricky one because the lakefront park is funded by state funds, and you have limitations on the kinds of access restrictions you can impose. And so we have, because of our funding commitments, or the strings that come with state funds. But again, I think when we have suite of laws too that tells us we have to protect the health of the water, for a public water supply, having that kind of, and demonstrating the nexus between a wake boat and problematic water supply, we would be justified in doing it. But, that's something I'm willing to.
I don't think you'd have any problem having the town of Springfield support that. The trick is, what about people who can launch at the hotels where there's no restriction? How do we then?
yeah,
Well-
that's why the municipalities need to get in on that. But I don't know why it would be. I think I'm being naive. It seems to me that, I can't find a lake that doesn't have boat laws around the entire lake. So I don't understand why we can't get together as 4 municipalities and agree on, maybe there's 2 things, maybe there's 3. That we think are important enough to protect the watershed while we're doing this other work to protect the watershed. Maybe I'm being too naive, I don't know.
I would think you'd probably be better focused to deal with them one at a time. Unless they're, what you're thinking of is closely linked, you're just complicating. I honestly don't think in terms of the wake boats that it's more just that it's still just a big question to municipalities. I think we would say, but here's what we think in terms of the wake zone law. Here's what we have from the other lake that Matt gave us information on, where they already have it.
Like Maria.
We don't actually have
Yeah.
a solid, here's a proposal of what we think could be language that would bind them. I would imagine they would at least, all the town would talk about it, and you get your shot at that
Okay,
common thing.
so what if we start there? What if we start with that? that approach that we have, that you shared with us, a picture of it, and we say, I mean, it would be a good thing to get the municipality leadership together on.
Well, and maybe that, I'm looking at Victoria again, maybe that comes from publicity. When we do, in our newsletters, we do articles about wake boats and the need to ban them, and we come up with a verb about them. And that creates a popular understanding, which goes back to a fee letter. We're trying to get people to understand, we're just not saying no for the heck of it. And those who watch the video of the wake boats, you can see all the nice things you think you're doing, tidying up the lake, and then boom, it's like Bambi meets Godzilla. It's ridiculous. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Great. About 15-second form.
I think that's a good subject to start with, because I don't think there are hardly anybody that lives in the perimeter of the lake that really wants to see them there. I mean, maybe it could be one or two people at most, but that's not a public opinion that people see as a positive thing for the lake, is to have them. And
Yeah,
that's a good place to start.
But who starts it, when and how? We all agreed to a good place to start. How? How are we gonna do that? Who writes it up? Who's gonna pull the municipal leaders together?
Well,
Do we think it's something we need to do now or wait for the 90? I can't get a feel from the group. I really can't.
I would recommend that we get the group together to the
leadership.
leadership of the 4 municipalities.
Okay,
And the concept is to not allow wake boats on our lake. And make sure everybody's on an agreement. And then once you've got that, then you get how you write the law, all the technical part of it, but you at least have that. And whether they feel they need to go back and get some official statement from the rest of their town board, or however people feel about it. But make sure everybody's lined up at least on this subject, which I think I think we could do that.
so we at the WSC, which is me, would convene
Well, we
the
could,
4 municipalities.
we could
to
invite
dis-
them, and we could invite them here and
Yeah.
say, this is what we're proposing, but you guys need to agree on it, and let's hear what you think.
Yeah. And we could show a truncated video of the big boat in
I
action.
believe the people who gave the presentation also had like verbiage, like they literally were like.
They did.
Here's legal verbiage.
Yeah,
My only concern is that if we're not fairly specific, I mean, obviously a lot of stuff would have to be ironed out. But if we just come together and we're like, let's do this, you're
I
gonna get a
agree.
lot of yes, and then nothing's gonna happen.
Right, so
afterwards.
you have
It's
to
gonna
have a-
peter out.
I agree,
So
100%.
my thought is like that, but add something, say, here's proposed language to deal with Wakefield. It comes from these things, here's some educational material on it. We're also gonna have it in the newsletter coming out in 3 months, or whatever,
Whatever.
but maybe something like that, just so at the meeting you could say, here's the verbiage.
I agree, because it's gonna be like
Get them
this.
to agree to.
Yeah, we
for
ought to do
next
that,
meeting.
nothing happened, yeah, I totally agree. So who will write that up? Not be me, who's the expert here that will write that up, about Wakefield? Paul. Paul, are you there? You do.
He's there, might be writing something. Yeah, it's the time issue and a lack of legal expertise in terms of my stuff. I couldn't promise it in upcoming weeks because
Yeah.
I started with the septic stuff, but if it's not done.
Well, there are lakes that have already done this in New York State, at least I understand that. Maybe we can get how they did it, at least get their, I don't know, who knows where that is, or if the state could provide that information for us, but that might not be a bad thing to have before we start anyway.
Okay, so what about this? Paul, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay. If I just listened to you and wrote something up, would that be a good start? So you tell me why Wakebo's are,
that I did not participate in that, that involved DEC in regards to weight votes. And I want to get some of the information that was discussed there.
okay,
So, give me to the end of the week to get
Of
my
course.
hands on that information.
no, of course, you can have long, no rush.
I'm on board with the idea of one, that we should have a straw man for the leadership to poke at and modify to their heart's delight. That we should make this a single issue
Okay,
meeting topic. And that we should use this to introduce the idea that we'd like to see, further meetings on the Wakefield buoy renewals, boat inspections, and, boat washes.
okay, all in favor?
I am in favor. May we discuss first?
Sure.
Given the nature of the wake boat issue / presence on our lake, which is de minimis. But given what makes for a better meeting, the renewal of the wake zone regulations and making sure they're up to date. And then so flip the script so that the tail of the meeting can be, and by the way, we have this wake boat issue. I think people might be, must be much more tuned into the wake zone presence because we have physical, evidence of that all around the lake and they've dealt with it before. So that's just a thought.
Well, Paul, it could be easily those two things, because they both have the word wake in them.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, and they'll be something that they can be, taking credit for heading off the.
Yes,
Right.
you've already taken this great action. Let's renew it. And by the way, we need to also, okay,
And really, I think
good idea.
my joke before, everything you've done about the no wake zone, can be obliterated by a few runs of a wake boat
Yeah,
around the
yeah.
perimeter by the wake. So
Good
what's
idea.
right? Or am I wrong?
No, you're right.
I'll be wrong.
Oh, I'm wrong.
Oh, you're wrong.
Depending on the waves are, they're not going to, substantially, we can, change.
Oh, no.
Maintenance is always an issue with those things.
No, I don't mean the change. I mean the ecology. I mean the stirring up the bottom, mobilizing the silts and the this is and that. Yeah, no, I don't mean about throwing off your, the change cannot be beat. I understand that.
Chains.
Two issues of weight.
the
Very good.
chains-
I like
the
that.
Chains are
Link.
solid. Okay, so all in
Chains,
favor of that with that modification?
We'll
Yeah,
work on it.
all in favor of that with that modification? Any opposed? Okay, off we go. Thank you. All right, where our work is done here.
I move to adjourn our
Okay.
meeting today.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Goodbye.
Take care, everybody. Thanks, Bonnie, again, for all your work.
Thank you for everything, Bonnie.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing is, we should continue to find them on the local, I put that. For the public, they were obsessed with it, it's correct.
The presentation you did on the culverts.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know that you had some questions pertaining to it. It was about finding data for the culverts.
yeah, I emailed you just about that one time, John.
I